We are officially tied for second place in the National League Central, but it doesn't mean anything because it's not quite Flag Day yet.
Not yet.
I think it's the 15th of June.
Okay.
So it's
Coming
like
up.
a week and a half away. And then I'll look at the standings, and that's when I'll start crying because we really are in a tailspin.
Oh,
Uh,
man.
you guys are surging. We're in a tailspin. But anyway, let's get the stuff done.
The
Do
business.
implore you to like us on Facebook and contact us through one card, one cup, one beer at gmail.com. Those of you who are watching on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. That way you will know when our episodes drop first thing, so you can brag to all of your friends. I saw the episode before you did. And they'll say, what episode? And you'll say one card and one cup and one beer. And they'll say, the heck is that? So anyway, you can support us through Patreon. Go to patreon.com. You search for One Cardinal, One Cup, and One Beer, and you will find us, and you can support our efforts for $3, $5, or $10 per month. If you want to be a contestant on one of our trivia contests, which Max is so busy right now, I don't know when we're going to be able to have another trivia contest. But I will. Now I'll find out. If you want to be a guest on one of our panels, we're about due for another panel. So we'll be doing that in a couple weeks. Or if you have an interesting baseball-related topic that you're educated on, drop us an email, send us a DM, leave us a comment. Say, I would love to be on your show because we like to have the people who are our friends on our shows. Sometimes it's fun to have our enemies, isn't it? So, JJ, beer.
Yes, sir. Ooh, let's see what you got going on today.
Coors Light.
The Colorado Rocky area there.
I have to frost my glass. Let me.
I love the history. The history here. I love the history of all kinds.
Well, let's get with the history. Coors Light was first produced in 1978 by the Coors Brewing Company. They had briefly produced a different low alcohol beer called Coors Light in 1941. But they discontinued that, so this Coors Light is not that low alcohol beer. It's something different that they've come up with in 1978, jumping on when Miller Lite started the diet beer bandwagon, mostly known as light beers. But this did create some confusion with some of the Coors. They thought that they were bringing back this low alcohol beer in '78, and so some of their faithful drinkers from way back in the 40s said, hey, man, what's wrong? This don't taste like what I remember.
Harry Carey.
Yeah, old people talk like that, so I'll be talking like that in a few years. So, but anyway, Coors had to put out a little bit of education that this is a different thing. By the time that they realized that they had named this the same thing that they had named their low alcohol beer back in the 40s, they already had all the promotional stuff printed up, all the bottles printed up, all the labels printed up. So it was easier just to tell people it's a different beer. So anyway, Coors is brewed in Golden, Colorado, also in Albany, Georgia, Elkton, Virginia, Fort Worth, Texas, Irwindale, California, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin, amongst a few other small locations, which is weird because I always thought of Coors as being a Colorado beer.
Me too.
And it was, made from pure mountain water. I don't know the mountains of Fort Worth, Texas, or Milwaukee, Wisconsin. If they produce good beer water, but I don't know, they brew it there. So that's pretty cool. It's a banquet beer. It's called America's Fine Light because it was lighter in body and color than other beers when it was introduced. And this was created some confusion between the Coors beers, despite the beers being different recipes and calorie levels. So they've kind of got their mess straightened up now. They do basically Coors Light, and a few other strange beers. But I did get the aluminum bottle, twist off cap.
Ah, stays cool longer. Yes, the anticipation.
Oh, and I did a good pour. I don't
yes.
A stupid head. Check that out. That's really good. So
smart looking.
Over the lips and through the gums. Look out, stomach, here it comes.
Now, while you're having your drink, is that a beer you normally enjoy? Is that a particular one you have a lot?
No. Okay. Back in my 20s when I drank more beer, I did drink Coors. not Coors Light Coors, but I didn't know I was diabetic, and so I didn't care. And I was also eating like 1 pound cubes of sugar. I mean, I didn't care, you know.
I still do.
So I never got on the Coors Light bandwagon, and I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've had a Coors Light. And I prefer Michelob Ultra, and I think I like the Miller Lite better than this too. Of course, it doesn't taste anything like what I had last week, the Stag or the Budweiser a couple weeks ago. Those are, you know, regular beers. So, but hey, I guess it does the job. There are plenty of alcoholics who are drinking Coors Light, so I guess it does the job.
I see it out and about. I do. On the side of the roads when we have our cleanup, I'm picking up quite a few of them.
So JJ, what's happening in fantasy baseball? One Cardinal, one cup, one beer stuff.
Ooh, fantasy baseball. This is the talk of the town. I'm hearing from all kinds of people. They've enjoyed this so much. I don't know if everyone else has, but the 12 people that are involved in this have really liked it. And for the second week in a row, we have the same first place teams, although the races are really getting tight. Over in the American League, we have the Kansas City Royals in first place, and that's 6 weeks in a row. Brody Jackson and the Kansas City Royals have held down first place. But the Seattle Mariners, who were 5 games back 2 weeks ago, have moved with that pitching staff. Seattle's got a great pitching staff. They stay in every single game. They're getting some hitting. Now, I hear there's some talks of trades with perhaps getting Luis Roberts from the White Sox. We'll talk about that kind of stuff later. But the Mariners are making a run at this, and they're 2 games behind the Royals. And tied for third, the Red Sox and Tigers, which is Ray Hartman and Tony Pruno. And they are 5.5 games back, just kind of hanging back a little bit, but still in the race. So tied for third. In fifth place, we got the California Angels, or the Anaheim Angels, or the Angels of Anaheim.
Whatever.
22 and 30. Yeah, whatever.
Artie Moreno's team.
There you go. 22 and 38, falling 13 and a half games back. And Candy Barsko's, you know, they'll have a 3-game series, and she goes, "We won 1 game." And I said, "Hey, you won 1 game. Very good." She's so excited. Her and her son, now when their phones come on, they go straight to the Angel games and see how they're doing, and they get excited about it. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. And in last place is old Dan Rutledge and the Chicago White Sox. 15 and 45. My goodness. And I tell you what, even though they're 15 and 45, Tommy Pham is going to kick some butt, you know. So.
Let's get on that real quick.
Sure.
I think one of our friends, I don't remember what, one of our mutual friends actually had the audio of that, of the announcer really going at it, and Tommy, you know, as Tommy Pham's doing this. And I commented, Tommy Pham and the announcer are the only two that have any passion in that whole organization. I mean, Tommy Pham did not run over the catcher, William Contreras. He slid into him, but it was no big deal. And for some reason, and this does bother me, if you're going to jaw at somebody, don't do it while you're running back to the dugout. That just looks so cowardly to me. Then again, I think the last person I would want to jaw at is Tommy Pham, because Tommy Pham doesn't take crap from nobody.
Oh.
But, I mean, Pham got visibly upset, and the announcer really got into it. If you haven't seen it, YouTube it, and the announcer is, and there's Steve Stone just, yeah, and the play-by-play guy is like, yeah, no, I don't care if we're not piling up W's. No one's going to push Tommy Pham around. And, you know, that's awesome. I love to see that. But anyway,
man, and Tommy's been like that. He came up with the Cardinals. I know he smacked Jock Peterson over a fantasy football decision he made. And so don't mess with Tommy Pham. You know, we're not going to say.
I love the guy.
Yeah, we love you here, Tommy Pham.
He wants to win.
Yeah,
he puts it all out on the field, and don't take crap from anybody.
Yeah, so. Old school, baby. Well, but the Chicago White Sox are struggling, and they are 15 and 45, 20 and a half games back already. So maybe Flag Day will be a different situation, but it doesn't look good for the White Sox right now. Now, over in the National League, Robbie Spear and the Padres have overtaken first place, and they've been there for 2 weeks now. But they're only 32 and 31. The National League does not have many teams over 500. And 1.5 games back of the Padres are both your Chicago Cubs and my St. Louis Cardinals. We're tied right there. But I give the we're both 1.5 games back. So we're right there in it. And that would be Larry Wildy with the Cubs and Kevin Lee with the Cardinals. Then we go to fourth place, and there's a tie at the fifth place, I'm sorry, because we have the Nationals and the Pirates with the exact same records, 27 and 32. They're both 3 games back. So if you look at that, the top 5 teams are all within 3 games of each other, and we're just now in the beginning of June. This is going to be fun. The Nationals are Tom Maget at 27 and 32, and the Pirates are Dennis Rose. In April, they were in first place. So they slipped back to a tie for 5th, and the only team really out of it is the Rockies. And that's Brandon Schmidt, who lives up in Cincinnati, and they are 21-38, but they're only 9 games back. So, they're the last place team and only 9 games back. So right now, that's where we stand right now. If the season ended, it'd be the Royals and the Padres, and that'd be a great series right there.
Speaking of the Rockies, Chris Bryant was a late scratch from the game. Was it last night or 2 nights ago? But the Rockies really have. I was reading one of the articles, and they're ready to move from him. Either eat the contract and DFA him, try to swing a trade somewhere and have someone pick up some of that. They still owe him $104 million. He's not on the field, and Chris Bryant at one time was a great player. And I'm not saying that Chris Bryant isn't a passionate player, but he's not an emotional player. He is a very laid-back guy. The team leader of the Cubs in the late teens was Anthony Rizzo, and it wasn't even any discussion about it. And there was a lot of people who thought in 2016 Rizzo should have won the MVP. His stats were really good, not quite Bryantish, but his leadership and his glove should have made up for it. So there was people that thought that Rizzo was really the MVP of that team. I kind of fall into that camp. I can't help the guy's brittle. I really can't. Nobody can. He can't help it. But there are some athletes that are just brittle, and his body was breaking down way back when he was with the Cubs in 2018, 2019. And why Colorado shelled out that money for him was beyond me. That had a lot of people shaking their heads. And I think that was one of the catalysts for teams saying, nope, not going to deal with Scott Boras like that anymore. We're not going to waste our money on someone like that. We're not going to overpay and overextend in years another player. And if I was a major league player, Boras would be about the last guy I'd want for an agent right now, because I don't want to use the word collusion, but I'm going to. There seems to be collusion amongst the GMs that we're not going to deal with this guy on his terms. He's going to deal with us on our terms. And that's why his players got short contracts this year. But I really feel sorry for Chris Bryant. He's a great guy, nice guy, but he's just brittle. And because he's injured a lot, with his laid-back personality, it's coming across that he just doesn't care. I remember when I was growing up, Mickey Rivers had that stigma with the Yankees. He was a laid-back guy. He was kind of a goofy person, but he was injured a lot, and Yankee fans were like, "Oh, he's faking it. He just doesn't want to play," stuff like that. I don't think that well, there's a few, but mostly when you make it to the major leagues, you've got a competitive desire there that's pretty strong. So I don't think players, too many of them, just rest on their laurels once they get a big contract. But I'm sure it happens every now and then. But I don't think that's the case with Chris Bryant. I think he's just a brittle individual coupled with his personality, and they're ready to run him out on a rail in Colorado. Sad story.
Yeah, what I think about Chris Bryant is, I remember when you guys, 2015, took that big step, and you had a lot of personalities and characters on that team. All great teams do. And I remember they had a series of commercials with Rizzo and Bryant, sort of like the Odd Couple, where they were like roommates and they would go do things together. And they just seemed like great guys. And from being a Cardinal fan and just watching from afar, I kind of thought Bryant, because I think he was Rookie of the Year and the MVP over his career there, that he was like sort of the leader of the team. But you also had, so many characters on that team. But I thought the Rockies, when they went to get him, thought that's our missing piece. We just need that one more bat in our lineup with Blackman, and I think maybe Arenado was possibly still there at the time. I don't remember. But anyway, I just thought they thought that was the missing piece. And with Scott Boras, yeah, he's got so many clients. Seems like he can't take care of them all at the same time. And a lot of these guys, they're waiting until the end of the year or getting into almost spring training before they're getting contracts. And both, I think Montgomery and Snell kind of suffered this year from not attending spring training, and Montgomery got rid of him. Now, if you're a big player and you want that big contract, I think Juan Soto is one of his clients, and I'm sure that's going to be a free-for-all, people trying to go for him and set the all-time record. I guess Boras would be your guy if you want that, because he's got a history of A-Rod and a few of those other guys that get that big contract. But we'll see. I'm with you. I think a lot of that's backfiring on some of the players, and like you said, the Cardinals have been known not to deal with Boras. They don't like to deal with him. But we're tied anyway, so that's kind of a 50-50 thing right there. So anyway, that's my take on that, Vince.
I also saw that Spencer Torkelson was optioned to AAA.
Oh, really?
31 home runs, 94 RBIs last year, and he was expected to be a big contributor. His average is not great. I think his average is like in the 240s, but there's just not much pop. 3 or 4 home runs, less than 20 RBIs. It has options, so I don't know if they just sent him down there to wake his bat up. I'm not quite so sure I'm a fan of that unless you're really tanking. What do you think about that?
Well, this year there's been a lot of big name players, and they're just not having good. Rosarina, who went down to Tampa Bay, and a lot of it's pitchers adjust. You got to keep making adjustments. This is the pros. All these guys are good. Maybe they have an alternative player who they want to get a little playing time, have him go down and work on some things. I know they're doing that with Jordan Walker, who was just not getting it done what they were expecting. And I think he's got all the talent in the world. He'll be back, and I believe Spencer Torkelson will be back as well. But there's been a lot of like big name players with big contracts that are just hurt. And that's another thing. Could they be hurt? Are they trying to play through injuries? But a lot of big name players have really tanked. And the one I remember, Vince, we were talking about this. Aaron Judge in April, the Yankee fans were booing him. And me and you both said, "What are you doing?" And then May comes and he sets the all-time Yankee records for home runs, RBIs. He was hitting in the 400s or something for May. And now they love him. Ain't that amazing, Vince, how quickly they turn? But, man, sometimes you got to give a guy a break. And when they were talking to Judge, I hate to turn this over to a Judge thing, but he just smiled when the announcers were saying, what's wrong? What's going on? And then he'll say, it'll be all right. You just wait and see. And boy, he is. Right now, them Yankees are tough. But, some of these guys are just struggling. And I think if you got options, send him down there. Let him work on some stuff. Let him get. Maybe it's his confidence. I really don't know what's going on, but I understand. And if you got options, that is one of the options you can use. So I don't think it's going to hurt anything to go down there. Mickey Mantle was sent down to the minors after coming up and struggling. So if Mickey can go down, Spencer Torkelson can go down.
Well, Spencer Torkelson is having a terrible year, but it's not nearly as bad as Javi Baez, who's having an atrocious year. That's another ex-Cub whose contract is looking terrible. So those of you who are Cub fans who were so angry a few years ago when we got rid of all these players, the Friday Night Massacre, I don't know, whatever they called it, they pretty much, the Cubs pretty much got what they wanted out of those trades. And those guys are getting their money, but they're just not producing. So,
yeah, you never know. Well, Vince, Saturday I went to or Sunday. I work midnights on the weekends, and sometimes I'm just so tired. And I was so tired, but I got to Highway 21 and I could take a left to go to Potosi or take a right, go to St. Louis. And I said, let's go to the card show. So I went up to the card show and saw John Borland, the artist who was on here. I got him to do something else for me. I saw Phil Brooks up there, saw the whole gang, and I got some things signed, but I was going to just mention this. I got to meet Dave LaPointe. And while I'm in line, if the guy who's getting the stuff signed is talking, I think it's common courtesy. I just sit there and be quiet because that's his time with that player. Well, I got up to Dave LaPointe. The guys 2 and 3 behind me are just yapping it up and talking about, hey, Dave. Hey, and they were talking about, what's your favorite place to play? And he said, I love pitching in Seattle. And I said, well, I was in the Navy in Seattle. You were in the Navy? Yeah. Well, thank you for your service. And we got talking. We talked all about the state of Washington. And then he said, and then I said, hey, how was it playing for the Yankees? And he said, oh, they've got a documentary on Peacock, the Bronx Zoo or the Bronx Bombers or something like that, he called it. But he was talking to some of those players are in prison right now and all the wild stories. And I don't know if he'd want me to tell them out here like this, but it was pretty wild. But Dave was great. I wanted to ask him to come on here, but it just didn't, the conversation didn't lead that way, and I didn't have that long of a conversation. But I was going to show everybody this. I got a ball signed by him. Dave LaPointe, 82 world champions, and it's number 39. He doesn't have the greatest handwriting, but I got it authenticated, and it's got a little sticker back here on the back, and that's $5, and you get a card that goes with it, and it's in a computer program that these items go together. And I've got a Dave LaPointe 8x10 as well, and those are authenticated as well. They got the little sticker on the back. So if you go up there and get something signed, spend the extra $5, get it authenticated, and then I got 3 cards. I just wanted to show these, but I got them in every aspect of his lineup. There's the stretch, LaPointe. Yeah. There he is, unleashing he's a lefty, and then the follow through. So I got all 3 with the aspects of that. So if you go to a card show, get the stuff authenticated. You can ask around where that's at. It was $5 an item. I got the 8x10 and the card or the ball authenticated and added to the collection. That just proves that it's not forged or anything like that for your collection. So Vince, I just wanted to add that little bit, and it was great going up there. And we've got some one of the players coming for an autograph session in the next 3 months. I can't think of his name, but and if I say the name, you won't remember him.
BB Richards.
I love it when you work BB in there. It's the guy from that Cleveland Indian movie where they were going to sell the team. It's the pitcher, the old pitcher that drunk Joe Vu's whiskey. The old pitcher. Yeah, he's going to be up there signing. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So anyway, if you can, I'll announce the next one coming up. But yeah, if you get a chance to do that and get your stuff authenticated, if it means that much to you, if you're planning on maybe one day selling it, or it's an estate sale after you pass or something like that. So anyway, that's my 2 cents there.
Didn't Dave LaPointe start his career in the Brewer organization?
Yes, he did.
One thing I would love to ask him, and it's not like I sit around and think about Dave LaPointe often, but I do remember in the 82 World Series, he started game 3 or 4, maybe 5.
Perhaps.
He started one of those middle games in Milwaukee, and he was pitching good, and I don't know if they hit it to Hernandez or her, but he was running to cover first base, and he juggled the throw, and that opened the floodgates for Milwaukee. Now, I'm not going to ask him specifically about that, but I would want to know, what was it like to pitch in the World Series against the team you thought you were going to have your career with?
That is true.
Yeah.
He was in town. They were having a Cardinals alumni event, and I believe it was a golf tournament this past weekend. So that's what he was in town for. And they had the card show so he could be here for that. And that was pretty cool. The early guys, I didn't stay until the late guys showed up, but it was LaPointe and Tom Lawless of the famous bat flip in the '87 World Series.
Yeah,
So those two guys were there, so, which is pretty cool.
very cool. Hey, I don't watch a whole lot of ESPN games. I don't watch a lot of national telecasts, and there's a very simple reason is because I can watch my games on MLB.TV, so I can always watch local broadcasts, and I prefer that because with local broadcasts, they know the team. So
Yes.
when I'm hearing the color commentator talk about the team, that's good insight. And when I watch a national broadcast, these they're not following the team. They flew in 2 days beforehand. They talked to a few people, and then they try to appeal to a broader audience, so they don't really get into the nuances. So I've watched, I think, 4 national broadcasts this year, 2 games, Cardinals and Cubs, and then the 2 games this past weekend. Yeah, the Cardinals and Phillies. Watched two of the games there. Um, the ESPN broadcast has in the corner what the score is, and then they have a little graphic what the win percentage is for, the Phillies are up 3-1, win percentage 71% in the 4th inning, something like that. I don't like that graphic, and I'll tell you why. And I'm a fan. If people haven't noticed, I've been watching baseball religiously for over 45 years. I know when you're down 3-1, the chances of winning are overwhelmingly in favor of the team who's ahead. I know that, but I don't want to know the percentage because the little boy in me wants to think my team can come back and win this game. I watched that, and I, who love the game, when I see the percentage up there, there's a party that says, "Oh, I might as well turn it off. The Phillies are going to win, or the Twins are going to win."
I see that. Yeah.
So that stat bothers me. I can imagine if you're trying to appeal to a broader audience who are not baseball nerds like us, and that's what national broadcasts are trying to do. They're trying to pull in as many people as possible that are, I don't want to use fair weather fans, but fans who love the team, but they're just not into the nuances of the game. So if I see that graphic and I'm just a Cub fan and I really don't get into the nuances of it, but I see that the Cubs have a 28% percentage chance of winning this game, I'm liable to say, well, they're never going to win. I'm going to turn it off. And I think that they're shooting themselves in the foot by putting that graphic up there. What do you think?
I'm with you. I watched a lot of games on CBS Sports Line, and they'll have that at the bottom, the percentage. The one team scores 2 runs, and now they've got a 48% chance of winning, but then the other team comes back. It's almost like these people on like Skip Bayless predicting the thing, but no matter who wins, he was right, And at the end of the game, it's 100%. And you're like, well, wait a minute, you were just badmouthing them in the 4th inning, and here they are. Now you're saying, yep, 100%. I knew it. So I kind of look at it like that. Like, of course, whoever has the score at the end of the game has a 100% chance of winning. It's kind of a ridiculous thing. Hopefully it goes away, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Is it tied to gambling? I mean, can you place bets through a game? I don't gamble at all.
I think you can bet by the inning. Yeah, I think you can.
I guess that's why they do it. And on these national broadcasts, are we trying to appeal to the gambling baseball fan? Or are we trying to appeal to a broader audience? I don't know. And I'm not one of these people that says we got to keep gambling out of sports. If you've got the money and you're not a gambling addict and you enjoy it for recreation, go for it. I don't care. I'm just saying I am way too anal and tight. I don't like to see my money go and nothing coming back. I've been broke many times in my life, and so I kind of hang on to all my nickels. Okay, so so I don't like the graphic. I hope it goes away. I think it's detrimental for the fans that they're trying to attract who are watching the game. And if it is done for gambling purposes, couldn't they say, if you'd like to see, the gambling percentage, or come up with it, hey, go to the website, look it up, follow the game. I follow the game on my phone while I'm watching it on TV. I mean, I follow the box score and stuff like that. And I'm sure a ton of people do. Can't they just do it that way?
I like that, Vince. Just have a commercial for, I don't know, one of the sites, and just mention that. And if you're interested, reach out. I like that. That's a good way to do it, Vince, instead of beating you up. A lot of people don't like too much. Now we all have a patch. Each team has a patch with a sponsor. If it keeps the game going and the revenue moving, I don't have a problem with that. Like this half inning is sponsored by Hardee's, and this half inning is sponsored by. That's fine. Baseball. That's been a part of baseball forever, with the walls, with all the advertisements, and I kind of like that. That's part of the history of the game. Truly, it is. Bull Durham, where if you hit the bull, you get a free steak. That was kind of cool, that kind of thing. So I'm with you. But the gambling thing, because it's kind of a two-way street. We've had about 5 guys that are going to get thrown out of baseball for gambling, and they go to every spring training. The league comes in, tells you in Spanish and English, and I'm sure it's going to be in Japanese too. These rules, you cannot bet on baseball, but yet they advertise gambling. So it's kind of a two-way edged sword there. And these players make so much money, you wouldn't think they don't need that. But if you have a problem, I don't think anything's going to stop you from placing a bet or something like that, or risking it,
No, I had a family member who had a gambling issue at the casinos, and it was ugly. And so you hear about someone having a gambling addiction until you actually see it and the ramifications of it, which is very ugly. You don't know how bad that is. It's like smoking or heroin. The way that the rush you get from winning is so strong that the low you have from losing is wiped out. So you go and you place 5 bets, or you're playing and you put on red 5 straight times and you lose 5 straight times. But that one time it hits, and you may not even make all your money back, but it's such a rush. That's what keeps them coming back. That's what keeps the heroin addict coming back. And that's what a gambling addict is. It isn't someone who's thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to make a ton of money. It's someone who says, no matter if I win or lose, I can't stop because the rush is too strong.
Yeah, I've never been there. I've gambled a little bit, and I'm not very good at it, Vince. And I am fiscally a conservative. I'm very tight with my money. Now, I set my extra jobs money aside, kind of split in half, and that's my baseball money that I can go to the stadiums or go get memorabilia and stuff like that. But man, I don't go out and do much. That's just my love is baseball. So yeah, but I don't have that problem because I'm very I don't know. I don't take many chances or anything. Every once in a while I'll make a bet, but if I lose, I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. No more for me. Thank you very much. And I'm fixed for about a year. It's like White Castles. Every 6 months I think I'd like to try some White Castles. I pay the price. I'm off the wagon for another 6 months.
Oh man, I don't have any addictions, but I don't think McDonald's, damned you brought back the steak, egg, and cheese bagel.
Oh,
I can't stop.
Oh my gosh. That's extra. That's something that's heavenly right there. That's heavenly stuff. I'm with you.
Oh gosh, that's my new sex. That is. That's it. So
I find myself in an alley laying there with wrappers all over me and grease on my cheeks.
Oh yeah. All right. I guess we have to discuss this. The integration of the stats from the Negro League. And unless you've been living under a rock, Major League Baseball is recognizing 7 leagues from the Negro Leagues. There were different leagues in the Negro Leagues, different incarnations that span a 29-year period, and they're integrating those those statistics into Major League statistics, MLB baseball statistics, and people are losing their mind over it. So, uh, what do you think?
Well, Vince, I thought long and hard about this, and they put a committee together. I don't know who was on the committee. It's like I think it was a 15-man committee in 2020. I don't even want to say man. It was 15-person committee. I don't even know who was on the committee. They looked into this, and the only caveat that didn't sound great was they didn't know how well the statistics were kept. That was the only thing. This was a long time ago, and there was questions about, I don't know how they even play, but that was the only caveat, was they didn't know how. So this group of people went over the statistics, talked about it, and I've heard 75%, that's a good thing, and 25 are like, well, but because baseball is driven by numbers, your average fan will know 367, the greatest batting average ever. That's Ty Cobb. The 56-game hit streak, Joe DiMaggio, or 401 in 1941, that's Ted Williams. 714, that's Babe Ruth. All these numbers, unlike any other sport, they're like legendary, like Mount Rushmore kind of numbers and things like that. But I think this is a great idea, Vince. These guys did not get to play in the MLB. The MLB kept them out. Our country, what was going on in our country, they just didn't integrate these great African American players, and I think it's a long time deserving. And I think it's great because fans that didn't know some of these players, like Cool Papa Bell, Josh Gibson, and Rube Walker, and Satchel Paige, of course, the great Satchel Paige, they'll get to know these players along with the Hank Aaron's and the Mickey Mantles and things like that. Although now I think some of the players that played in both, they're going to get a bump from some of the numbers they had in the Negro leagues, which is fantastic. I think this is great. It's said and it's done, and in 10 years, we'll forget all about they weren't even integrated. It'll just be a part of the history of baseball. So, Vince, that's how I feel about it. I think it's wonderful. It's been a long time coming. And of course, it's because of MLB, they didn't get to play in the MLB. Now, we're not going to do this with the Japanese leagues and the Caribbean League and all that kind of stuff. But the only thing I have to say is I don't think somebody, and this is going to touch the Cub fans. Well, this is another subject. I was going to say about a rookie that played somewhere else professionally come in and be a rookie in the MLB. I'm not big on that, because Jackie Robinson had played somewhere else. And, of course, but he did a Herculean thing. This was actually aimed at the Japanese player that's with the Cubs, because that guy's so darn good. There's no way that guy's a rookie, but he is under the statistics that he is a rookie. I'm sorry I got on that side thing, Vince, because he's just fantastic.
I agree with you. I'll start with the last thing I said. I agree with you. If a player has spent a 30-year-old pitcher coming from Japan is not a rookie.
No.
Just because he hasn't played in Major League Baseball. Hideo Nomo, when he came over, won Rookie of the Year, there's controversy. And there's been controversy with every Japanese player who's come over and won Rookie of the Year because I heard Randy Bass, who played both Major League Baseball and Japanese baseball. 30 years ago, I heard an interview with him, and he said Japanese League is above AAA, but a tick below Major League Baseball. Now, that was like 30 years ago he said that, so I think it's probably even a little closer now. So I don't agree. I agree with you. I don't think the Japanese players who've had a significant career in Japan should be coming over here and winning Rookie of the Year. I mean, for me, it's kind of like once I won a comedy contest. And the reason I won is because half the people there were my family and friends. And when there were great comics there. And I mean, I was as green as can be. And I knew I was going to win. And I started my set with "Welcome to the Opera Family Reunion." And I want to tell my family, if I don't win this, I'm going to kill myself when I get off stage. So they were going to vote for me no matter what. I sucked. And when they announced I won, I apologized before I went up and I took the money. Before I went up there and took the money, I got to open for Charlie Wiener. before I did that, I told all the guys, I said, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what to tell you. I felt terrible about that. And I kind of think that probably Japanese players feel that way too when they win the Rookie of the Year. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
So, but let me back up a little bit. I'm glad you put it in perspective because honestly, I haven't been able to wrap my head around it because um, when I first saw it, I didn't know this was coming. I don't know if you did. I did not know this was coming.
No, I didn't
I
either.
saw it on a post and immediately it was politicized. And we all have our own political views. We all do. Um, and no two are going to line up exactly alike.
That's right.
And my deal is I have political opinions and I will be glad to share them with anybody on a different format. But when I'm doing like baseball, that's an escape from real life. I don't want to talk about
Yes,
politics,
sir.
but the politicizing of this immediately, that, this was whatever politically motivated. And I thought, I can't even think about
I
this
don't think
now.
so.
And the second, I didn't see much of this, but I did see a lot of race. I saw some racism in this. Um, and I thought, I can't even wrap my head around it at this time to make a proper discussion about it because I'm so put off by people politicizing this. And I know the sacred numbers. You know the sacred numbers. We were raised with them. Guess what? The younger generations, they're not going to care. They
No.
don't look at baseball in the same way we do. They just don't. My son's 22 and he looks at it very analytically and he doesn't sit there and say, well, this player is great. He hit 270 and 22 home runs, whatever. And, well, he's talking about his hard hit contact rate is this, or pitcher's spin rate is this. He's got the best curveball, and that's not an opinion. The best rated curveball on the team when they rate all these things scientifically. That's how this younger generation looks at baseball. So when the old farts like us die, this isn't going to matter anyway, because the younger generation just doesn't look at baseball in the sacred light that we do. But I would like to say I agree with you, but I just haven't fully wrapped my head around it to make a final decision. But when I first read it, I thought, yeah, about
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I was raised reading the Guinness Book of World Records that Josh Gibson hit over 800 home runs. But apparently, according to this, he only had like 3,000 at bats. I guess that's all they could verify, and people are losing their mind because his career batting average is higher than Cobb's, and that's what it's going to be now. And I'm just saying, in 15, 20 years, it's not going to matter at all because the records that we hold sacred just are not held in the same light by the younger baseball generation.
And there'll be new numbers. And this doesn't take anything away from Ty Cobb. He was fantastic. Babe Ruth, Josh Gibson, all these guys are fantastic. And now we get to look at the numbers and discuss them. And everybody will know about all these players that maybe they hadn't heard about before, even though they might not know that team. And I think this is just fantastic. It's good for the game. And, and I would like to see maybe some players that played in certain cities get honored by that city with a retired number or statue or something like that. I don't know if the Cleveland has anything for Satchel Paige, but I know Kansas City does because of the Monarchs out there. So
Yeah,
anyway, it'll be fun. And I tell you what, I just love baseball because it's a democracy. It doesn't matter what team you're on or how tall. I love baseball because you can be 6'10", or you can be Eddie Goodell or Freddie Patek. You can be robust like Bartolo Colon, or you can be lean and mean. You can be muscular like Tyler O'Neill, or you can be old like Charlie Huff throwing that knuckleball out there. Joe Nuxhall, 15 years old, played in the pros. If you got it, come on, you play on our team, buddy. So anyway, that's what I love about baseball.
You can be two-dimensional like Kent Tekulve was. So
He turned sideways, you couldn't see him.
couldn't see him. Turned sideways, stick his tongue out. He looked like a zipper.
Oh,
Skis in the shower, otherwise he'd go down the drain. Yes, I've got a lot of hacky jokes. Before we turn it over to Cardinal News, you got anything else you want to address?
yes, I would like to talk about Mr. Tony Scott. He passed away at the age of 72. Oh yeah, Tony. Vince, we're getting older. These players, we were probably Tony Scott played on the Cardinals in 77 and 81 through 81. Well, we were junior high and high school. Well, I was junior high and high school. That's my years. But Tony, he was born in 1951, lived to be 72 years old. He was from Cincinnati, Ohio. He played for the Expos in 73 and 75, the Cardinals 77 through 81. The Astros from 81 to 84 went back to the Expos, and he was a career 249 hitter, but he had an 11-year career, had a nice career. He was usually the third or the fourth outfielder. He had good speed, and he always had a smile on his face, and he seemed always, you hear nothing but he was a good teammate, hard worker, and good speed. And what I remember about Mr. Scott was when he came here, Vern Rapp was our coach. It was his first year. This was after the Red Shandings years, and Vern Rapp was here for a year and a half. And he went through the Kenny Boyer years all the way to the Whitey Herzog years. So he stretched those three managers. Usually Cardinals had managers for quite a while. The reason the Cardinals went out and got him, it was in the November 8th, 1976, and we traded 3 for 3. We got Tony Scott, a guy named Steve Dunning, and Pat Scollin from Montreal on November 8th, and we sent them Bill Grief. I don't know if you remember that name, but it was a relief pitcher. So that was the main keys. It was Scott for Grief. But the three guys we got from Montreal, Vern Rapp was a AAA manager for Montreal. The Denver Bears, I believe, is who it was. And he was a big Tony. He thought Tony Scott was a terrific player. So the Cardinals made that trade and got Tony Scott over here. I did not know the Vern Rapp connection to Tony Scott. But anyway, he played over here. And in 1981, he was struggling that year. Had a slow start. And actually, Dane Orge and Tito Landrum, there's some names from the past. They passed him up on the depth chart. So the Cardinals, he was kind of an extra player there, and the Cardinals traded him to the Houston Astros in 1981 for the one and only Joaquin Andujar, one tough Dominican. Now, that's 1981, and that was one of the linchpins when Whitey comes in, and we're just a year away from the 81. We were actually very good. That was strike year. But in 82, that's the year we won it. And Joaquin Andujar was a very big piece of that puzzle. So that was one of the moves that Whitey came in and made. So anyway, I just remember Tony Scott as a good player, good-looking guy, worked hard, and just kind of stretched those three managers' careers and being a part of the St. Louis back then when we were just starting to build and become a better team. So R.I.P. Tony Scott.
I remember in the late 70s, Cardinals had in the outfield Tony Scott, Jerry Mumphrey, and Leon Durham would play some left field. And I think this is after, I think it was Mumphrey they traded for Hendrick. Was it Mumphrey and Rasmussen?
You got me on that one. I think Rasmussen was in the deal for sure. I think that.
But anyway, Mumphrey was a heck of a player, really good base stealer. But I remember went to a game of Busch and Durham's in left, and he was a third base or first baseman by trade, but you had Hernandez at first, so that wasn't going to happen. And Tony Scott in center field, and there was a ball that was clearly Scott's, and Durham, who was a big guy, just run him over. Didn't hear the call offering, just run him over. Scott was had to go to the DL after that. But man, so I'm out in the left field bleachers, and I mean the fans are giving it to Durham because he wasn't quite hitting yet because I think it was his rookie year. And I felt so bad for Durham. The crowd was all over him, and he feels bad anyway. And I'm like, I don't know, 10-year-old kid, whatever. I'm thinking, Gosh, I feel bad for that guy.
Yeah.
And they used to bring in, they brought in, I think they brought in Rick Bossetti to play center field.
Okay.
So I think that's who they brought in. So in between, well, in between innings, no, there was a pitcher coming in to warm up, a relief pitcher coming in. And back in those days, sometimes the players would come to the outfield wall and talk to the fans. And so we're in left center field bleacher, and Bossetti comes to talk to the fans while the pitcher's warming up. And I remember the fans say, "Oh, watch out for him; he'll run you over there." Man, get the guy a break. Next thing I know, he's traded to the Cubs and becomes an all-star. So
That's right. That's right. Baseball's a crazy world, man.
it is.
Those guys are like rock stars, and then it goes by so quick, though. And you never know where you're going to end up, who you're going to end up with, that kind of stuff. I got some crazy stories coming up. We're going to do a little thing later. But anyway,
what's going on in Cardinal land?
Cardinal land. I tell you what, we had a good homestand, 7-1. And I remember Dan Rutledge said, "Hey, I think they're going to get 6 wins, 7 wins." I said, "Dan, come on, man. I'll be happy with 4. If we go 4-5 on this homestand, I'll be tickled to death." We played some tough teams. We went 7-1. I was so happy. But we made some transactions. And I tell you what, injuries are part of the season. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Every team goes through them. There's not a lot you can do. You just go out. And this season is going to be the depth of your roster. Guys in AAA. Because I tell you what, there's been so many injuries this year. The Braves, I don't know what they're going to do. The Cubs have had injuries. We've had injuries. The Brewers seems to be getting by with, well, they had Hoskins hurt, but they've been getting by. The injury bug's going to hit them too. But so far with our transactions, Lars Newbar went on the 10-day IR. I don't know if you guys saw that. He had an oblique strain. He was in the thing, and he kept kind of holding aside. He played another inning. They took him out, and they called up the shortstop, Jose Fermin, who had been up earlier in the year, and he's really raking down at AAA. So he'll come up. We'll see what he can do. Probably be a pinch runner, a pinch hitter, maybe because we already got 2 other guys playing shortstop. So we'll see what happens there. Also on the 31st, Giovanni Gallegos, who I haven't heard his name in a long time, he was sitting down to Memphis to start a rehab assignment and get ready to come back. We need him. Our bullpen's been very good this year, but the injuries, and so I hope he hurries back. June 3rd, Brendan Donovan has a neck issue, and he just returned back to the lineup. He had missed a couple of days. And, as a fan, you're like, his neck's sore. I'm sure he'll be back tomorrow. And it went a few days. But again, you can't push these guys too much. There's 162 games, and take it easy. Get him well. Get him back. And I think we got enough depth on our team. We'll be okay. I don't think we're a mid-range team right now, but we're playing good ball at the current time. But things can change. And we also we've got this, our last spot in the bullpen has been like, it's been like a merry-go-round. We'll bring a guy up. He'll fill out these innings, low stress innings, and really doesn't have it. And then we'll bring somebody else up. So we just sent right-handed relief pitcher Ryan Lotus back to Memphis and brought up Chris Raycorn, who was up once earlier in the year. And really, we got a pretty good bullpen, and our starters are going fairly deep, 6 innings. 5 2/3, 6 1/3, something like that. So these guys usually don't get to pitch a whole lot. And also, Kenya Middleton, who was one of our big offseason acquisitions, he went down to AA, had 5 appearances, but right now he's on the IR with a right forearm flexor strain. We hope to get him back soon. It's in spring training, he looked good. Last year, he looked good. He was going to be a big part of our team, and we just can't get him healthy enough to come up here. And I think that'll be another big feather in our cap, and I hope he's up sooner than later. And Wilson Contreras, they're aiming for a mid-July return from him, and we need him, although Ivan Herrera has looked very good, but Wilson Contreras was the best hitter we had when he went down. So hopefully a speedy recovery for Mr. Wilson Contreras. Well, as the Cardinals went this week, the last Tuesday when we taped this, we ended up beating the Reds 7-1 and keeping that homestand going. We held the Reds to just 4 hits, And Kyle Gibson went 6 innings with 1 earned run. He was now 4-2, and we got home runs from Arenado and Gorman. And both of those players look like they're warming up. Herrera went 3 for 5 and is hitting 276. That's pretty good for a backup catcher. And he's got speed. He's got speed. We were so used to Yachty all these years, and Yachty was probably the slowest guy in MLB. That's no surprise. I think they just said, let him hit the ball, we'll get a double play and throw him out at first. And that's usually what happened. But and Ciani got his 6th stolen base, and he's been a very good 4th outfielder and a very good bunter. He's had 13 bunt attempts this year. Sacrifices. There's only one time it didn't work for a sacrifice or a hit. So I like that kid and his bunting, and that's been a big weapon we've been using this year. So we get the first win with the Reds there on that Tuesday, and then we finish up the series with the Reds, and we end up winning 5-3. And last week, Vince, we talked about a 5th starter. Man, we need a 5th starter. With Matt's going down, it really showed that we don't have a lot of depth. And they brought in Palante, who hadn't had a start in a long time. And Vince, it was just what the doctor ordered. He went 6 innings, no earned runs, 3 walks, 4 Ks, and he's 1-1 on the season now, and with a 3.94. It looks like he's come up with a knuckle curve, and it was really such an off-speed pitch. It was devastating. Now these guys know he's got that. Let's see what happens. But at that one start was really good. It's so promising that which means that Libator goes back to the bullpen, which is where he is meant to be. He's much better in the bullpen than he is as a starter. He did his best, but it just wasn't very good at all. He's back in the bullpen, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But anyway, Helsley got his 18th save. Donovan got 3 hits. Wynn got 3 hits and hit 308. And Wynn's been everything. And that's, I think he'll be in the conversation for Rookie of the Year if he keeps this up. Long season. But right now, he's been everything we could have hoped for and more, except sometimes routine plays. I don't know if he gets ahead of himself or something, but he bobbles the ball or, knocks it down or something like that. But
yeah,
we talked about that.
Yeah, I've seen 4 Cub games or Cardinal games the last few weeks. And he does have the arm, and right now he's hot. I don't know if he has a history of being a 300 hitter in the minors. I don't follow like that, but sometimes the routine plays, he nonchalants it, I guess you could say. But that's a learning experience. You can get away with a little bit of that in the minor leagues, simply because you don't have as many speedsters, and it's just different. Usually the ball isn't hit as hard in the minor leagues. So the major leagues is a different thing. So I think when the ball gets on him a little quicker than what he's used to, he kind of rushes and bobbles and has a little panic. But that is almost the norm for a shortstop coming up. You see a lot of that with shortstops coming up.
Super athlete. He reminds me of Gary Templeton. Gary Templeton could make these plays that Ozzie had to die for. He'd make standing up, but then he'd come up and throw the ball in the second row in the stands sometimes, where Ozzie would always, he'd put the ball on target, 99% of the time.
Does Mason Wynn have a good middle finger? Is that why it reminds you of Templeton?
No, he's just super athlete, and he can hit. And Ozzie didn't hit his first 6-7 seasons in the league. He was, a very, a 220 hitter, 230 maybe. Yeah, he didn't hit a whole lot, but his defense was always, at top notch. But anyway, and Carpenter went 1 for 3 with his first home run of the season. And I love having him on our team. I heard a lot of people talk about, Carpenter, you're bringing him back for one more hurrah. But he's been very good on the bench. And I tell you what, he's the type of guy, he'll do whatever you ask. And he doesn't get a lot of playing time, but he's come up with some big hits. Just in the last week, he's had 2 big hits. And it's good to see. And I'm glad he's back. And that was his first home run since he's returned.
I think you and I both in the offseason liked the signing. It was low risk, high reward. He wasn't expected to be anything but a bench player, and that's what he's doing. And you got so many young players. And I'm not saying, Arenado and Goldschmidt are not mentoring young players. I'm saying you've got a guy who's sitting on the bench who's got time to talk to the young players. Talk them through a game, talk them through what's going on. And that's aside from the production you're getting out of him, that's the value that you have when you have a veteran who's sitting on your bench.
There's a story at spring training that Jordan Walker was like 3 minutes late for a meeting, and Carpenter said, "Hey, go give me a lap," and he had to run a lap around the thing, and he was glad to do it. And he goes, "You're right, I won't be late again." So that's kind of cool that they got that kind of respect and that kind of thing right there. And also in that game, Gorman hit his 10th home run, and I'm telling you what, Vince, the first 6 weeks he was just striking out, not hitting even 200, but he's starting to light it up now, and he's got really good power and playing a pretty good second base too. I think Donovan and Edmund play a better second base, but he's done a really good job, and him and Wynn together have been a pretty good double play combination there. So I'm happy with that. Thursday we had a day off and we hit the road and we head to Philadelphia. And Vince, this is no news. This ain't no hot take. The Phillies are a great team. They got a three-headed monster, and the 4 and 5 pitchers ain't bad, but them top 3 pitchers they have, yeah, you just try to battle them, get in the bullpen, and maybe good things will happen. But they're so good. Friday we lost 2-4, and it was Michaelis, and again he got bitten at 1 inning. There was a 3-run second, and so he went 6 innings, 3 runs, a quality start, but they all came in the same inning. In the second inning, we were behind from that moment on, and we faced Nola, and that guy's just a professional pitcher. He knows how to get it done. And they beat us 4-2. But Liberatore got his first bullpen game, came in a big situation, got out of it. They had bases loaded, and he got out of it with a big strikeout, went 1 1/3 with 3 Ks. And most of the runs he's given up has been when he started. And I think that's a big move, getting him back in the bullpen, a lefty in the bullpen. And he did a very good job. And Crawford played and went 2 for 2 with a home run. So there you go. And it's good to see him do that because he's been struggling. But again, another veteran to work with the young guys because we're a predominantly young team. Saturday, we played the Phillies, and they just kicked their butt. That's all there is to it. We lost 6-1. It's June 1st. Sonny Gray goes out there and had a clunker. 3 runs in the first. And Rangers, we were facing Ranger Suarez. And I tell you what, there was a moment in the second inning where Burleson, who's been knocking the cover of the ball, hit a ball 106.1 miles an hour, and it hit his pitching hand. I hope he's okay. He had to leave the game. The bullpen they just hit us, pitched us, and out defended us in that game. And we lost 6-1. You tuck your tail and you get up and play the next day. So they take the first 2.
The X-rays came back negative. I did see that. And what I was really impressed with, because it's one of the games I was able to watch, was the Phillies bullpen. They just brought arm after arm, and it was like, geez, they are as good as advertised. I hope we have a lot of rain if we have to go to Philadelphia.
Oh man, that whole lineup. There's not a weak spot in there. They all bring something into that lineup.
Starting to hit. It's like, man, he hasn't hit all year. Suddenly he's starting to hit, and it's like, gosh, they're just good all over.
To be honest, in the National League, it's like the Dodgers, the Phillies, and the Braves, and then the rest of us. When you go against those 3 teams, it's just like, it's like Hillsborough. We thought we were pretty good for Jefferson County. We're going down there and beating on Windsor and St. Pius, and then we go up to Fox or CBC, and we get annihilated. And that's kind of how I feel the Cardinals are this year. We're like, hey, we give everybody a good fight. Oh, the Phillies. So to get the Sunday game, the 5-4 in 10 innings, even to beat them, you got to go 10 innings to beat these guys. It's a 5-4 game. We win. We're 28-29 now. We worked hard to get it to 500, but we're just kind of stuck there at 500. Lynn only pitched 4 innings, no earned runs. I'm not sure why they took him out, but Liberatore came in a big situation, pitched an inning, and got 2 strikeouts. Another outstanding outing for Liberatore. This is a good move, having him back in the bullpen. King got the win. Helsley got his 19th save, and this is only the beginning of June. Gorman hit a home run and got 3 RBIs. He's up to 11 home runs and 28 RBIs. So to get 1 out of 3 in Philadelphia, I'll take it. And let's get the heck out of town. And then Monday, we go down to Houston. It looks like we got them on the ropes the fifth inning. We're up 4-2, and they come back and beat us. Now, the Astros, they're the kind of the old gray area, what she used to be, but they're still a pretty good team. And if you don't put them down quick, they can come up and bite you. And that's exactly what happened. We lost to them 4-7. Jojo Romero, who's been so good all year, he had a kind of a glitchy game and lucky took the loss. Gorman went 2 for 3 with 2 home runs. Vince, and 2 more RBIs. That dude is up to 13 home runs, and he's coming on quick. So that gives us another weapon for other teams to have to look at. And Herrera with 2 for 3 with a walk and a stolen base. And I think that's great that the catcher's out there running because he's got good speed. Wynn went 1 for 5 and hitting 297 as our week ends. And Burleson went 1 for 5, hitting 271 and got his 7th home run. And I tell you what, Gorman's up to 230. Gibson went 5 2/3 with 3 earned runs, almost a quality start. So anyway, so that's what went on this week. It looked so good after the homestand, but right now we're 1-3 on this road trip, and we're playing some good teams. So anyway, right now we're 2 games under 500, but we're going to get after them. And Palante is pitching tonight against the Astros, so let's see what happens. So Vince, I went a little long, but I just wanted to emphasize with Palante doing a good job, and now Lipitor going back to the bullpen, I think that even makes us a little bit better.
Okay, in Cub news, we started the week. PCA was called back up after tearing up AAA with like a 444 average in the 10 days he was gone and 3 home runs. And we sent down Luis Vasquez, who I don't know why we called him up because we didn't. I think he got 1 at bat maybe, and I don't know. Also, Julio Tehran, who's been pitching in our AAA. If you don't call them up at a specific time, I don't know if it's call them up or put them on the 40-man, how it works. But there is a time with these veterans where they could say, no, thank you. And that's what he did. So he's gone. Starting pitching is not our problem at all. So a blast from the past was called up. David Bodie was called up. David Bodie has not played since the 2022 season. To give you a little history, after the 2018 season, his rookie season, where he had a really good year, nothing fantastic, but he looked like he was a solid backup infielder. He approached the Cubs and said, "Hey, how about 5 years, $15 million?" And they said, "Sure. 5 years. We've got wrapped up our third infielder backup. He's got pop and all this other stuff." Well, then he's just kind of not been the same player. So he hasn't been up. He wasn't even on the 40-man roster. Last year when Max and I went to Des Moines, he wasn't even starting in the lineup. I mean, walk right past us, Max waved to him. He waved back, It's like, oh, there's David Bodie, He's still alive. Well, he's raking in AAA. So what we did is we moved Alzolay to the 60-day IL. To make room on the 40-man roster, put him on the 40, and we called him up, and we sent Nick Madrigal down. A lot of people thought we might DFA Madrigal. We didn't. We sent him down. Madrigal last year was really good playing third base. This year, we've been bringing him in for defense, and he just hasn't been the same defender this year. And he's got great bat-to-ball skills, but a lot of ground outs, a lot of pop-outs. We're just not seeing, the one thing that I do like is if you have a situation where you need to put the bat to ball, Madrigal's your guy. But the other stuff he's just not bringing, we might as well call up Bodie, better defender, more pop. He doesn't have the bat to ball skills as Madrigal, but everything else is superior to Madrigal. So bring him up. So that was our transactions for this week. We did go 2 and 4 this week. Which that doesn't sound good, but hey, last week we only went 1 and 5, so we're starting to wake up. Tuesday, when we got off here, I went up to watch us play the Brewers, the second game of the series. We won 6-3 in 10 innings. Now this game was 1-1. Well, it was 1-1 going into the 10th. and then we won 6-3. Just kind of a weird game. Bellinger had 2 hits. Bush had 2 hits, including a home run, 2 RBIs, and Maya had a couple of hits. We beat David Peralta, which is not an easy thing to do. Ben Brown pitched 7 no-hit innings, 10 Ks. His last 2 starts, 11 innings pitched, 1 hit. So
Wow.
he
My
has
gosh.
nasty stuff. Hector Neris, he came in the ninth, and he blew the save. We're up 1-0 in the ninth, and then he blew the save, but he did end up with a win. Trevor Miller came in and got the save. So we started the week good, 1-0 against the Brewers. Well, our week, like you like to say. The next day on Wednesday, we lost to Milwaukee 10-6. Togman had a couple of hits. Suzuki had a couple of hits. Bellinger had a couple of hits. Happ hit a home run. Happ started to wake up finally, had a couple of hits. Imanaga had not pitched for 10 days. And I know why they did that. It's because he's never pitched more than 170 innings. So they have to limit his innings because, they're not sure what he can do. Plus, in Japan, you're on a 6-day rest or 5-day rest. In the United States, you're on a 4-day rest. So he had his first bad outing of the year. He pitched 4 1/3 innings, 8 hits, 7 runs, only struck out 1. His ERA jumped up to 1.86. And then Hendricks came in 2 2/3 innings and 3 runs, and his ERA stayed above 10. So then we played the last game against Milwaukee, this 4-game series. We're hoping we can win. We lost, so we lost series 3-1. We lost 6-4. Bellinger had a couple of hits, including a home run. Morel had a couple of hits, including a home run. Horner a couple of hits. Suzuki, who didn't start, came in, hit a pinch hit 2-run homer. So our bats are waking up, but this is one of those games where the pitching did not show up. Tyone had one of the most unlucky games that I've seen this year. He pitched 6 innings, gave up 6 hits. 4 of them were infield hits. Gave up 3 runs. Pitched good, just weak contact, and just kind of one of those weird games. It was tied 4-4. We brought Luke Little in, and he coughed up the lead, and we lost. So Cincinnati comes to town. Cincinnati is not hitting at all this year. They're one of the few teams that are hitting worse than us in the National League. What happens? Their bats wake up against us. We lost the first game on Friday, 5-4. Happ hit a 3-run home run. Pete Crow Armstrong had a couple of hits. So he came through, or he's coming through now that he's back. Assad pitched 5 1/3 inning, only gave up 2 runs, 7 strikeouts. Then Smiley came in. Smiley does what Smiley does. He gave us a frown, gave up a 2-run home run, and we lost.
Give us a frown.
But on Saturday, we beat the Reds 7-5. Suzuki hit a grand slam. Very good to see Suzuki hitting. Warner had a couple hits. Swanson had a couple of hits, including a 2-run home run. Just a great game all around. Justin Steele pitched 5 innings. He gave up 7 hits, 5 runs, but only 1 of them was earned. He had the bases loaded, and there was an easy can of corn to Suzuki, and he dropped it, just like he did towards the end of the year last year. Suzuki has won Gold Gloves in Japan. His defense it's like trending. He may be a DH more sooner than later, but still pitched a great game. But hey, stuff like that happens. It was raining. It was terrible weather. It was delayed for hours. I think a 3.5-hour delay. But the winner was Leiter Jr., and Hector Neris did come in and get a 7th save. And then Sunday, we played the last game against Cincinnati, hoping we could take the series. We lost 5-2. Horner did have a couple of hits. Bellinger had 3 hits. So Ben Brown, who coming fresh off of that 7 inning of no-hit ball, last 2 starts, 11 innings, 1 hit. He pitched 5 innings, gave up 6 hits, 5 runs. His first bad outing since opening day when we brought him in out of the bullpen. He did have 6 Ks. And I want to say a few things. The only bright spot was that Hendricks did pitch the last 3 innings and gave up no runs. So his ERA plummeted to 9.38. I'm just so happy for him. But two things about the pitching this week. Imanaga had a terrible game. You gave him 10 games off. Probably too many games off. Skip, maybe give him 1 extra day, 2 extra days of rest, but to completely skip a start, he came out there, and it's the first time he did not have pinpoint accuracy. The ball was leaking over the plate. He got hit hard. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm not a major league manager, but to completely skip over him, you had to think after not pitching for a week and a half, there's going to be some rest. And there absolutely was. I don't know why council decided to skip a whole start and not just push him back a couple of days. He was going to start that first game in St. Louis. They got rain, but they got rained. And so he said, you know what? I'm going to completely skip it. Didn't work out. Second thing is Ben Brown pitched the 7-inning no-hitter. He hadn't pitched more than 4 innings. 4 1/3 innings has been the most he's pitched all year. So it was 7 innings, 93 pitches, which is way more than he's ever thrown in a major league game. I know he had a no-hitter going. Maybe limit him to 75, 80 pitches because when he came back to start, he didn't have it. He's never pitched like that before in his life. So there's a little bit to be desired with counsel in how he's handling the pitching staff, which is weird because I thought that was his MO. But the more I'm watching, the more I realize, no, his MO was, I've got 3 stud starters who could take me to the 7th inning, and then I've got 2 stud relievers. I guess I could manage that way. And, we always thought that Craig Counsell was a genius, but he's gone, and they're having a better record than they've ever had. Under Pat Murphy.
That's right.
And it's more of an offensive team now. So I don't know. I'm not paying Counsell $40 million. I haven't completely lost faith in him, but this godlike image the Cubs fans had of him, that sheen is completely gone. We're seeing a human being who could make his share of mistakes. He's not as bad as David Ross, but he's got to be better. I guess I'll put it that way. So that's the week in Cub news. There's only one person that I know that doesn't need to be better, and you know who that is?
He's number one. Number one in my heart and on the scorecard, Jeremy Connor.
Jeremy Connor does not have to be better. Comes a time in every man's life when he needs some advice on relationships. You need to listen to the podcast DMDR, which stands for Dating, Marriage, Divorce, Remarriage, from my good friend Jeremy Connor, the Dr. Phil of the Boot Hill. You can find DMDR on Spotify or whatever platform you choose to listen to your podcast. All right, we're going to revisit our 5 players, the best players we've seen in our lifetime, and this time we were doing left fielders.
Left fielders, and there's a ton of great left fielders. So yes, there are.
Do you want to go first, or
you want to alternate? You want to go? You go first. I think I went first last time.
Okay,
sir? If you want to go the first, and then we'll flip flop like that.
All right, my number 5 left fielder that I saw play in my lifetime is Jim Rice. He played from 74 to 89. He put up 47.7 WAR, 382 home runs, a 298 career batting average, 1,451 RBIs, 854 OPS. He was an 8-time All-Star, 1-time MVP, 2-time Silver Slugger. He won a home run title, and he is in the Hall of Fame, and he's one of those players. There's a lot of controversy. Did he do enough to get to the Hall of Fame? Because he didn't reach 400 home runs. He didn't reach 1,500 RBIs, very close and everything. He didn't have a 50 WAR. But when I looked at everything, and I thought, yep, he's my number 5. So number 5, Jim Rice of the Boston Red Sox, who I am so sorry never won a World Series. Should have won in 86, but he didn't.
I love Jim Rice. He was always a guy in the other team's lineup, in the Red Sox lineup, he was a major force. if you had to be careful because if somebody was on base and there was Rice, trouble was the big inning was about to happen. Well, my number 5, and you can call me a homer if you like. I am a homer.
You can call me Marge.
Right here. This guy's a homer. I go number 5, Lou Brock. And I'm looking at 74 to 2024. And Lou Brock was one of the Cardinal legends. Played 19 seasons, all with the same team. Oh, no. Chicago Cubs came over. I'm sorry. I got crazy. I got that fever. I got the Lou Brock fever. Anyway, I had too many Brocca Pops, and I'm running a sugar high. 19 seasons. He had 3,023 hits, 486 doubles, didn't hit a lot of home runs. Busch Stadium was known as being a spacious ballpark. He had 149 home runs, but he was the base burglar, and at one time he was the greatest base stealer there ever was. 938 stolen bases, and he had a 293 lifetime batting average. He is in the Hall of Fame, 6-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, and he finished in the top 10 for the MVP 5 different times. But Lou in the 60s was him and Bob Gibson. This was their team, and Lou was phenomenal on the base pads, not known for his defensive play, but for his speed on the base pads and hitting and getting on base and starting trouble. And he is one of the high, if not, well, now with the new statistics, I'm not sure. Well, it shouldn't affect this, but a 391 lifetime World Series batting average over 3 different World Series. And that's phenomenal. I think he had 12 or 14 stolen bases in the World Series, just ran amok in the World Series. And if you do it on that stage, you're legendary. And was kind of the captain of the team through the Cardinals 70s. So my number 5, Lou Brock.
Okay, Homer. So, okay. My number 4 is Tim Raines. Played from 79 to 2002. And I didn't see a ton of Raines when he played for the Expos. I mean, it's like any other team. They would come into Chicago, I'd see Raines. But when he went to the White Sox, I got to watch him a little more. And he was not the same player he was in Montreal. Montreal, they had the turf, and it was just speed. He got to Chicago, where they had natural grass, and he didn't steal as many bases. He's a heck of a leadoff hitter. His ability to get on base was tremendous, and maybe the best guy I've ever seen go first to third on a single in Major League Baseball. He had a 69.4 career WAR. That's outstanding for a guy who didn't pop a ton of home runs. A 294 career batting average, an 810 OPS, 808 career stolen bases. We forget how many stolen bases this dude had, but he had a ton. 7-time All-Star, 1-time Silver Slugger, won a batting title, and he made the Hall of Fame. And he was the poster boy after, I think it was the 85 season, where the owners decided to collude to keep the salaries down, and he was a free agent. He couldn't get signed anywhere. And so when Major League Baseball was taken to court by the Players Union, he was look at him. That's our batting title right there. Guy stole 75 bases, and nobody wants to sign him. And the Players won that. Raines was not a tremendous fielder, and that's why he's in left field. I mean, we're left fielders, there's not a whole lot of great defensive left fielders. So, but I did enjoy watching him play, and the only guy on my list that really doesn't have a ton of power at all, but I loved watching him play.
Well, Vince, have I ever told you you're a genius? This man, ladies and gentlemen, this man right here is a genius because great minds think alike, and my number 4 is also Tim Raines.
Tim Raines,
yeah. Tim Raines, you said mostly everything about him, but I'll go over a few statistics. When I think of him, I think of the Montreal Expos, the AstroTurf, and they didn't have wool uniforms back then. They wore those nylon, and I'll tell you what, that uniform was so tight you could count the change in his pocket. You
could see the cocaine in his back pocket.
That's right. As long as you didn't break it, we don't want no accidents happening out there. And kids do not do cocaine. He played for the Montreal Expos, the Chicago White Sox, the Yankees, the A's, the Orioles, and the Florida Marlins. You pretty much said everything about him. Uh, I always think of him with a head first slide
Yes.
and very intense. And that team, that Expo team, although they didn't win a World Series, was loaded. So many good players. The Hawk, Tim Raines, Warren Cromartie, Tim Wallach. What a team. It was so much fun
Gary
watching those
Carter.
Expos. Gary Carter, the kid. Yeah. Steve Rogers. Just, man,
Larry
what a team.
Parrish.
Oh yeah, man. What I mean, that was fun. I wish I'd like to see Expos or Montreal get another shot crack at that because I know they got a lot of fans up there and didn't get a good shake. They were in that old Olympic Stadium, and man, and Felipe Alou was the manager, and they had Pedro Martinez. I mean, that was just it was fun. That was fun going up to Montreal. But one of the stats I saw that really drew me to the Tim Raines thing was over this 23-year season career, he had uh, 361 more walks than strikeouts over a career. That's phenomenal. That is a guy who does his job, gets on base, causes chaos, and scores a lot of runs. So my number 4, and we agree, is Tim Raines.
Okay, before I get to my number 3, I want to preface this.
Okay.
I have an issue with the steroid players. It's very difficult. It's easy for some to figure out when they start doing steroids. Sammy Sosa, skinny kid, all of a sudden, and his face swells up to this big, and it's nutrition. I didn't have this nutrition, No, people who eat better, their heads don't expand twice the size. Okay, there's something going on there. So this player, I don't know when he started using steroids, but he's a known steroid user. This isn't one we've suspected. He was suspended for steroids. Manny Ramirez played from 93 to 2011, a 69.3 WAR, 312 career batting average, 555 career home runs, 1,831 RBIs, 996 OPS. He was a 12-time All-Star, a 9-time Silver Slugger, won a home run title, and won a batting title. My issue with Manny is I can't tell when he started using. It's possible he was using his whole career. I don't know. So I was vacillating. Do I even want to include him? Because if his whole career was nothing but a big steroid mess, I wouldn't have put him on here at all. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that those Cleveland years, he was playing clean and he was great. In the Boston years, you could start seeing he's getting a little bigger and a little puffier. But some players, as they get older, they just do. Because sometimes the body isn't quite maturing until you get like into your late 20s, fully matured. So I can't really pin, was he a user beforehand or not, for the Boston years. So I put him in here number 3. So if he was using his whole career, if I ever find that out, I will call Manny and I'll say, listen, Manny, I had you at number 3. Now I found out you were using that time you were an A-ball. So you made me look like a fool. Click.
Yeah, take that, Manny.
Yeah. So anyway, number 3, Manny Ramirez.
Well, my 3, this may be boring for everybody, but my 3 is Manny Ramirez. And Manny Ramirez, you hit a lot of a stat. 19 seasons, came up with the Indians when they were just that team was fantastic back then. Never won a World Series, went to some, but never won one, but they were great. Went to Boston. I kind of think of him as a Red Sox. When I think of Manny Ramirez, I think of him as a Red Sox. Went to the LA Dodgers, was very popular there. The White Sox, and finished with Tampa Bay, which I did not know he played for Tampa Bay. He's been suspended twice for.
Known he played for Tampa Bay.
I looked it up and I said Tampa Bay. Okay, that's good for that immaculate grid.
Yeah, for Tampa Bay, huh?
Yeah, he may not know it. Manny was known as being a free spirit. Manny being Manny. One time he called a timeout. He went the wall, the Green Monster, and took a leak. That's Manny Ramirez, Manny being Manny. The fans loved him. He had such a love for the game. He was almost like a man child. The first time I really Yachty's temper flared was in the World Series. Manny said something. Yachty took off his mask. He's a rookie and he's yelling at Manny Ramirez. I said, "Whoa, look at Yachty go!" Yachty chewed him out, and Manny was like, "What the heck?" And he got back in there. Manny, what a player. He was fun to watch. Yes, he was on steroids. That's a shame. This guy, if he was half the player he was, not on steroids, probably be a Hall of Famer. Like I said, suspended twice, 12 All-Star games, 9 Silver Sluggers, a batting title, 2 World Championships, and a World Series MVP. For a power hitter, he only struck out 484 more times than he walked. And I kind of keep a track of that because that's a pretty good contact hitter for a guy with that much power. He could do it all except play defense. He wasn't the greatest defensive player. None of these three are. And back in the old days when they voted for the Gold Glove, sometimes there'd be 3 center fielders win the Gold Glove.
Yeah.
And now they do it properly. You have to play predominantly right, center, or left, and that's who your competition is. But back then, my 5, 4, and 3 didn't win any Gold Gloves, and they didn't really deserve to either. But they weren't as good as the center fielders. So my number 3, Manny Ramirez.
Okay, very good. My number 2 is the player that I absolutely despise on this planet, Barry Bonds. He played from 86 to 2007, and I can pinpoint when the steroids started with him after his first year with the Giants because his head got twice its size. So, and he was a sleek, lean, fast player, great athlete before the steroids, and he was on a Hall of Fame trajectory. The story goes that after the Sosa and McGuire home run deal, he was eating dinner with Ken Griffey Jr. and said something to the effect, I might as well juice, because nobody pays attention to me, even though I put up great numbers. I guess I'll do what they do. And then he put up stupid numbers. He played from 86 to 07, had 162.8 WAR. Ridiculous. 298 career batting average, 762 home runs, 1,996 RBIs, a 1.051 OPS. These are video game numbers, and that's why I don't like the steroid era. I know there are people who love the steroid era. Yeah, man, I love 10 to 9 games. I love all the home runs and everything. Yeah, then go watch slow pitch softball, man. 14 All-Star games, 12 Silver Sluggers, 7 MVPs, 8 Gold Gloves. And those were legit. When he was a young man, he could play left field like it was nobody's business. 2 home run titles and 2 batting titles. And a lot of people don't realize he only won 2 home run titles. It's not like he won it every year. And it's not just my issue with Bonds is that he took the steroids. His attitude about it. He was always a crappy person. I remember when he was with the Pirates, and he was one spring training. He was just chewing out reporters, doing their job. And I thought, you don't have to be a piece of garbage like that. And I remember one story I heard Andy Van Slyke say on the radio that they were in spring training doing some drills, and Barry, I guess didn't want to do the drill or something. And Jim Leland got in his face and said, "You're wrong, Barry. Get it. You're part of this team." And then when he went to the Giants, I don't know, Baker just let him do what he wanted. He didn't talk to him. The other players didn't talk to him. He had his own lazy boy at his own private locker. And that's one of the reasons why Jeff Kent hated him is because Jeff Kent had enough clout as a teammate, because he's a great hitter too, that he could say, I don't agree with this shit. He's supposed to be part of this team. Why are we treating him that way? And Bonds got mad at him because, hey, I'm Barry Bonds. I should. So if there's one person that's kept out of the Hall of Fame that deserves it, it's Barry Bonds. And I know he hates it. I've seen him since he's retired. I've seen him in the booth at a few Giants games. His face is not fat anymore. He's lean again because he's not juicing anymore. So, but I have to put him up here number two.
Well, my number two, I think we have 4 of the 5 of ours are the same, but my number two is Mr. Ricky Henderson. And I love Ricky Henderson. Ricky Henderson talks about himself in the third person. Ricky likes this. Ricky likes that. I love Ricky Henderson. He's a character. He played 25 years in the game, and you can't play 25 years without taking really good care of yourself, being a super player, adjusting to your roles as you get older, and loving the game. If you're going to stick around 25 years, you absolutely love the game. He played, now this is an odd stat. This may be a trivia question one day. He played with the Oakland A's. He was from Oakland, California, but he played with them 4 different times. He was on the team, left, went to another team, and came back. 4 different times he played with the A's, which is that's a total Ricky Henderson kind of story there. He played for the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Padres twice, the Angels, the Mets, the Mariners, the Boston Red Sox, and the Dodgers. Now that's pretty much, that's a Gaylord Perry kind of history right there with all the teams you played for. He has a lifetime batting average. I'm trying to look from the batting average at 279. That's over 25 years, ladies and gentlemen. He had 3,055 hits, so he hit that magic over 3,000, which very few do. 510 doubles. And and I believe he has the most leadoff home runs as well. He's got 297 lifetime home runs, but he is to stolen bases what Nolan Ryan is to strikeouts. 1,000, and I'm not making this up, 1,406 stolen bases. And there was a time in his career, if he got on first, you might as well just let him walk over and get on third because he'd steal the bases. Yeah. It was exciting. And Ricky, when he broke Lou Brock, who I love's record, he did a famous speech where he says, "I am the greatest," and you are the greatest. You are the greatest, Ricky. But he holds the record for most stolen bases, most caught stealing, and most runs, 2,295. That's over the history of the MLB. That is phenomenal. Hall of Famer, an MVP, 2-time World Series champion, 3-time Silver Slugger, 10-time All-Star. He did win a Gold Glove. Ricky won a Gold Glove. And an All-Star American League Championship Series MVP. I love Ricky Henderson. He's probably one of my favorite players in my lifetime, and you couldn't take your eyes off the guy. When he got on the on-deck circle, look out. Here it comes. There's going to be chaos on the base pads. So my number 2 was Ricky Henderson.
Well, I've got Ricky at number 1, and you've already went over him. Just a few stories about him. I'm not sure if this one's true, but I've heard it a few times. John Olerud played for the Blue Jays and wore a batting helmet when he played first base because he had a brain aneurysm in college. So he always wore a batting helmet at first base. And Ricky was on that Blue Jay team. And then a few years later, Olerud is playing for the Mets, and he's got a helmet on first base. And Ricky comes into camp and says, "Hey, he's playing the guy in Toronto that did that." And John Olerud said, "Yeah, it was me." Oh,
he didn't remember.
That's a great thing. Yeah. So, oh gosh, I forgot the second story, but anyway, you've covered everything. I do want to mention my honorable mentions. I've got Matt Holliday as an honorable mention.
I do too.
I've got George Foster as an honorable mention. And I didn't have Lou Brock as an honorable mention because I didn't start watching baseball till 1976. And those last 3 years, I mean, Brock did have a good final season, but he wasn't quite the player he was when I saw him play, so I didn't have him as my honorable mention. But my 2 honorable mentions are Holliday and Foster. So,
well, as you can guess, my number 1 is Barry Bonds, and you covered him from head to toe there. He's got 3 all-time records. Now, the first thing I thought of, Vince, the very first thing when they were going to absorb, when MLB is going to absorb the Negro League statistics, I was like, oh, this is great. Screw you, Barry Bonds, because now Josh Gibson is the all-time greatest home run hitter. Good. That made me happy right there. Oh, that alone made me happy right there. And Barry has these inflated statistics, like you said, video game statistics. He's got 3 all-time records, and I don't know if but at one time he had the most home runs, 762. Most walks ever, 2,558 walks, the most in Major League history. I believe that would probably still be the record. And the most intentional walks, 688 intentional walks out of those. Tons of accolades, except one, Vince. He never won a World Series. Ha ha ha. Take that, Barry Bonds. And I remember there was a book called Game of Shadows, and Barry Bonds, his father, Bobby Bonds, was a player. His godfather is Willie Mays, and he just had this arrogance about him. In college, he broke some rule. The team hated him. They said, all right, everybody vote. Who wants Barry off the team? The whole entire team said, kick him off the team. And they said, no, well, that's okay. You're going to he feels sorry, and he's going to stay on the team because he was the best player on the team. And he got in arguments and fights with his teammates. R.J. Reynolds was sick and tired of him in Pittsburgh. I know Leland had to get on to him several times. Jeff Kent, that's like you said, that's a famous disagreements they had, and they were the best 2 team players on the team. But my goodness. But I want to go over my honorable mentions quickly. I was looking at players. Matt Holliday was one of them. Jim Rice, Albert Bell. Even though he's got a strange history, he just didn't play long enough to be considered the 5 best. Gary Matthews, I was looking at Osarge, but his numbers just weren't in the top 5. But what a great player he was. And Juan Soto has too short of a career so far.
Yeah.
He's on that of the current players. Look out! This guy is you don't realize he's maybe going to be one of the all-time greats if he just stays healthy. So anyway, that's my honorable mentions on that list.
All right. What are you opening up?
Well, I actually, Vince, I'm going to let you go first, but I bought a whole box of those Heritage cars, those top Heritage. Look at that. And Vince, you don't realize how hard it was not to open this up and rip open all these packs.
Yeah. Every time I get more baseball cards, the first thing I want to do is open up.
Yeah.
Gotta save it for the show. Save
it for the show. So I've been a good boy. So I'm going to be opening up this box and getting one of these cards, packs out.
So I'm opening Upper Deck, 1990 edition, the collector's choice with the nice foil wrap.
Oh, very nice.
This is one of my favorite packages to open up because I love the photography on this, and because I always open older cards, I get excited at the prospect of getting Hall of Famers because I'm never gonna grow up. When it comes to baseball, nope, I don't grow up. First player was a great player, did not have a long career, but had all the talent in the world. This time he's playing for the Expos, Ellis Burks.
Oh, yeah. Colorado Rocky player, too.
Yeah. Next player, former shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates, Jose Lean. Played on those playoff teams. Very good.
Yeah, love the photography.
I do too. Catcher for the Twins. Played in the 91 World Series, I believe. Tim Laudner.
I don't really remember that player.
I just mentioned this guy last week or 2 weeks ago, a guy who was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and everybody thought he was going to be great. Had a decent rookie season and fell off the face of the earth. Corey Snyder.
Yeah, Corey Snyder. I think he was on the Olympic team too, I believe.
He had a better career than I thought. 24, 33, 26 home runs, and that's when he fell off the edge of the earth. Okay. Pat Tabler for the Royals.
Yeah.
Good player.
Looks like he's got that Charlie Lau batting stance there. Kind of.
Yeah, he does.
And back.
Yeah. Former Cardinal pitcher, Greg Matthews.
Oh, yeah.
Decent player. Former Royal closer Steve Farr.
Oh yeah, Bar. I
And
remember him.
I got a Boston Red Sox hologram here.
Ooh, scary.
Yeah.
Both
Uh,
sides.
for the Twins, Mike Dyer.
Don't remember that guy.
Um, this guy could have been a Hall of Famer, but he decided he was going to do the injections. Bill James says that Roger Clemens is the best pitcher in baseball history. There's Roger.
Wow. How about that? I saw him pitch.
Uh,
I saw him pitch one time in Seattle.
this
Four hit,
guy,
four hitter.
I never saw him pitch in person. This guy was from the swamps of Louisiana.
Hey,
Had
hey.
a really good musical career, and then parlayed that into some movies. Recently passed away. Jerry Reed.
Jerry Reed played for the Mariners?
You
Gee.
hot, you hot.
Hey, Willie Swamp.
um, former Brave and Cardinal Ron Gant.
Oh, yeah. I
Good
think I had
career.
some biceps, man.
Oh, former Cardinal, former Cub, former White Sox, the hit dog, Lance Johnson.
Yeah, good player.
Who I contend had the biggest glove I've ever seen in my life. Oh my gosh, for the Phillies, Ron Jones.
Right.
Okay. Um,
Mr. Jones.
for the Orioles, outfielder, Geronimo Baroa.
I remember him. They caught that ball right mid-flight. Very nice.
And decent pitcher for the Pirates, Bob Kipper. So I got no Hall of Famers because Roger Clemens decided to choose.
That's right. Thanks, Raj.
Thanks, Raj.
Yeah. Well, I always start out with a classic card, and I'm showing. I like these 1965 tops. This is the one with the pennant at the bottom, but that's a very young Tim McCarver right there. 1965, Tim
Cool.
McCarver, St. Louis Cardinals. We had the Black Hats back then. Very cool. And now I'm opening up the 2024 Topps Heritage cards. These are the cards of today's players, but done in the 1975 style cards, which is my all-time favorite. And boy, a team that's struggling and a guy who won a batting title, Jeff McNeil, right there.
Yeah.
His uniform's dirty. He's out there hustling. But man, they just everything that could go wrong's gone wrong for that team. A team that Vince, we're behind right now, and it's Sal Frelick of the Brewers, and this kid is coming through for them this year. Another young player. One of the reasons they're doing so well. Let's see. Oh, I got the card, the 2015 MVPs. Let me see. I'm having trouble. It's dark in this room, but I know Bryce Harper is one of them, and it says Josh Donaldson there, the other
Yeah.
one, perhaps. Yeah. But that was what the 2021 cards or the 2015 cards look like. The polar bear, Pete Alonso, right there.
Pete Alonso.
Well, they're talking. There's a lot of rumors swirling.
That's been going around for over a year now.
All right, this guy here, an outfielder for the White Sox, and honestly, there's only about 4 White Sox I know. Oscar Colas. Don't know him. He's a good-looking kid right there. Chicago White Sox. All right. Let's see here. Ooh, World Series game 2. I like this and they have the box scores on the back, but it's game 2 right there. It's pretty sharp looking.
Cool.
Yeah, I like that. So you can get all 7 games and kind of get the box scores to those. And remember, Vince, last week I showed it was like a nature picture, and it said the St. Louis Cardinals. Well, this is the baby giraffe. Look at that. What the heck's that all about? But evidently there's somebody with the nickname Baby Giraffe.
Yeah, Brandon Belt. That's his.
Brandon Belt. So you get a picture of a giraffe. Nothing against the giraffes. In my administration, we love the giraffes, but I don't want a card of a giraffe. And the final one, a Florida Marlin, Dane Myers. And honestly, I don't know this young man, outfielder, but that's my final card right there. And I love these Heritage cards, 2024.
Yeah, when my kids were little, one of the books that I would read was an animal book, and with Evelyn, I would call it the giraffe, and she thought it was funny. It's a giraffe.
Oh man,
I,
the
I'm
things we do for kids.
I'm so ticked they grew up. I really am, man.
I know.
Violet is moving out in a few at the end of
Oh,
July, and it'll be the first time in 35 years I haven't had a kid in the house. And
oh
I'm
my
telling you,
gosh,
I'm like,
you feeling it?
I, I'm like, man, I'm really apprehensive. I mean, is this when Kathy really realizes, gosh, I can't believe I got to spend my life with this guy? I
I've
don't,
been thinking the same thing. I've been thinking the same thing. Will Kathy get tired of me? No, I was thinking, will Faith get tired of me? You know, we've had this whole kid thing going on and taking him places and doing things. And that's kind of, Brody just graduated. He's still here. But man, I know what you're talking about. It's just going to be a different world. I hope about, we're hoping to do some traveling and having more free time together. But I don't know, man. She might get sick of me. My luggage might be out in the yard next week.
well, to throw even more depression on the fire, the Cubs are losing to the White Sox 5-0 in the fifth with a rain delay. Imanaga has given up 5 runs, but only one earned. I don't know who screwed it up, but by golly, if we keep making errors to where we're giving up 3, 4 unearned runs a game, Vince Hopper's going to get mad.
My gosh. Mm.
All right. The tough times are hard to go through. They really are.
Oh,
But,
they are. They are.
we're not that bad of a team.
No.
We will right the ship. I don't know if we're a playoff team or not. I think 500-ish is maybe what we are. But, man, when you go through the tough times like this, it's like, could we please just string 2 wins together?
I think the best is yet to come. I think the Cubs have some good young players, and your minor leagues are stacked. So I don't know if you're going to go with the minor leaguers, work them up, or use them for pieces to get established players. But I think the Cubs, the better years are ahead. And I think for the Cardinals, too. We got a ton of young players. We don't have your minor league system, but we have a bunch of young players that are finally starting to flourish, and let's see what happens. But I think the best is yet to come for both of these teams.
Well, I do know this. When Jordan Wicks is about to come back, when he comes back, we can either go to a 6-man rotation, or we can take Ben Brown and move him to the closer. He's a classic closer, high, hard, upper 90s fastball, and then that hammer that he drops on Charlie, 2-pitch pitcher. That's what you need to close out games. So that could help us. Almonte is ready to come back. Valencia is getting ready to come back. We've got these players that if they play to their potential, we're good, but they haven't played to their potential. And I'm afraid we're gonna, with a couple of these great pitching arms we got, we're gonna get frustrated because we've given them all these chances and they haven't come through. We'll get rid of them. They'll be Trevor McGill, who's now closing for the Brewers, who couldn't get anybody out with us, and what's his name, Estrada. I can't remember his first name. We gave him all the chances in the world the last couple of seasons. Couldn't put it together. And now he's closing games for the Padres with an ERA of under 1. I mean,
Who would have thought it?
It's hard to give up on this young pitching. So I just hope it comes together. Whereas you guys get rid of the outfielders, we get rid of the pitchers. So, all right.
Ain't that the truth?
You have a good week, and we will see you next week, okay?
Take care.